Hey everyone's Classic DM, and we're going to take a look at Pathfinder Second Edition. It's 1 year later, and the goal of this video is going to kind of give you an idea how you can start understanding the relationship between all the tremendous amount of variety of characters you can build and how finely tuned combat is, and some exercises for you to very quickly and very easily see how razor sharp the game is balanced by building some characters, doing some test builds and things like that. And it's going to require you to need a copy of the PDF. So at the same time, I'm going to show you some cool techniques on how you can use the PDF copies of some of the rule books to build a quick little encounter with a pre-generated character against a number of different enemies that are lower and higher levels, and where in the rule book to figure out how do you gauge the difficulty. And why am I doing this? So if you go play the game and you get together with your friends and you dive into the first encounter and you open a door and the whole party gets blown up in one melee round, your first impression is like, well, that sucked. You've been playing these D&D games like this forever, and you've done all the techniques you used to use in the past, and someone's listening at the door and you do all these things, and why are you dead? Why has everyone gotten killed? And you might be like, what the hell? It's scary. It's really hard. There's a couple of problems happening from this perspective. One, your game master may have put something too hard up against you. Two, you may not have realized that there's a 3-action economy and those enemies are probably going to hit you. Three, the balance is really, really down to, really razor sharp. And at lower levels, you can be fragile. You're not pathetic. You can pump out a lot of damage, but you can take a lot of damage. You really need to think about how you move around. So when you open up a PDF like this, like, what the hell's going on with this PDF? This is the way Adobe Acrobat works. It thinks you're going to open this huge, this is the Lost Omens World Guide. You got this sidebar. Let's get into the PDF part first, and then I'm going to walk you through how to take a look at a sample scenario to get some balance numbers in your head, working around in your head, so you can start thinking that when you build your next character, what feats and what choices do you need to make sure you don't get slaughtered, and also how do you as a GM set up an encounter to be fun for a party, even for just one player. So when you open up a PDF, it's always like this: kill the sidebar. This stuff on the sidebar, this little button right here will get rid of it. Get rid of it. And all the Paizo PDFs start off like this. They start off with this 180% or 260% scale. So one thing you can do with the upper left-hand corner here is go to View and then go to Page Display and say, listen, just give me a single page, okay? And then you're like, wait a minute, it didn't resize it. So if you're using a computer, you got it set to full screen, you can hit the zoom out button a couple times here, right? And as you can see, I'm not a pirate. I have my official copy on display here. I'm so proud of the fact that I'm supporting these guys. So you get your PDF set up like this. So let's go look at the real PDFs we need to talk about today. So here's our core rule book. Now, another thing you can do with PDFs is this left side here. This left side bar over here, when it's closed, it kind of looks like this. When you open it up with this right here, you'll find it has this little lock, and then it has little page thumbnails. It gives you little pictures, which is okay, but you're going to actually suck down a lot of memory because it's going to load all the graphics of the entire PDF. You really kind of want to go to this, which is Bookmarks. And we're looking at the front of the book. They call it front matter in the publishing industry. This allows you to do something like this, okay? Game mastering, view, page display, 2-page view, flip one page at a time. And if you don't like to flip one page at a time, you can go view page navigation and enable scrolling. Now, the thing about enable scrolling is going to go back to a one-page view. It's going to allow you to kind of scroll like you would in a Word document if you're in school. But for now, to make it feel like you're looking at a book, let's go to that 2-page view, and we're just going to flip one page at a time. So here we are. What is this? Page 488 of the core rule book. As you can see on the left-hand side, this is the game mastering chapter, which is chapter 10. Wow. A lot of really great useful information in actually less than 2 pages. Building encounters, right? If you're going to make a game balancing and be fun, you can run it. You kind of need as a player to understand what kind of encounter can you handle, right? Because you got the same enemies that have been around since 1977. There's ogres and ettins and ogre magi and all that crap in Drow. And all your preconceived ideas of how much hit points they have and their immunities are completely changed, but they're going to do kind of the same thematic things. So they've broken things down into different threat levels, like trivial threat. Encounters are so easy, the characters essentially no chance of losing. They shouldn't even need to spend significant resources unless they're particularly wasteful. Well, we all know that some of our players at our table are particularly wasteful. And you're going to go and wipe out a trivial encounter, and then you're going to get into something that's low threat, and you're going to get killed, right? So this gives you, it's written as a game master's perspective for him or her to build the encounter. But you need to kind of be a little bit more careful with this, because you need to think, well, what does that really mean? Okay, let's choosing creatures. When you come over to this section here, this is really important. We're just going to highlight this, and we're going to highlight this section here, because here's where some of the meat of the details here. when you are getting ready to test something, I strongly suggest you do a little play test session with like Valeros, right? Which is this guy right here, the pre-generated iconic character. This is the level 5 version of the guy, and where you can get a handle on how, well, level 5 the guy's got 78 hit points, armor class 23 with a sword and shield in his hand. He's got like a +1 striking longsword, nothing too huge. When he's rolling a d20, it's going to be +16 here, okay? So his ability to hit and his ability to be hit is going to be very tightly woven with what's in the bestiary. And then we're going to actually look a little bit later on at creatures by level, and we're going to pick something that's around these different levels, like level 5. So let's go ahead and get to what do we want to have here. How about, let's just start with a troll. Trolls, I'm not a big troll fan. What's something more interesting? How about a Cyclops? Okay, so we're going to go to monsters over here. We'll go to letter C. Go down here to Cyclops. Boom, we're on the Cyclops page. So we got a Cyclops. We got a pre-generated character. We have everything we need to know. Let's go back to this. So we had trivial threat, which is really saying what? Over here on the right-hand side, trivial threat, this is how much XP budget there is. So they have this XP budget system, which is kind of weird. You're like, I just want to pick a monster that the guys can kill pretty easily. So here's the table right here. Party level, okay, -4. So then you go, well, what do you mean party level? Let's just start off with one character, all right? So our Valeros guy is level 5. So a trivial encounter, low threat lackeys, right, which are a bunch of scrubs, is considered 4 levels lower. So what does that mean? So if you go back to the bestiary and go down to the bottom, you say creatures by level. You see this down here? So you take 5, you minus the 4, and you've got what? Level 1. So you start looking through here. Okay, what's in here that's cool? A deep gnome scout, a dweger bombardier, electric eel. We're not going to be underwater. That sounds boring. That's hobgoblin soldier. That sounds like a good old in search of the unknown kind of baddie. So you can look through here, and you really need to kind of don't be tempted to go, let me just give him a crocodile, because once you do that, you're actually tremendously changing the balance of what you're going to do. Because you see party level -3. Okay, our Valeros guy, what level is he again? Upper right-hand corner, he's level 5 fighter, right? So if we start going and we pick a crocodile, we're talking about low to moderate threat lackey. -2 levels, which is level 3, any lackey or standard creature. Now, if you ever played any MMOs, if you played EverQuest or any of the later games, WoW, do you have a thing where you con a creature? Like this thing, what do you want your tombstone to say? If you remember all that kind of junk. Some of the games still do this, where even level with you is white. Lower level than you for a range of numbers is green. Trivial's grayed out. You don't get any experience for them. You have blue monsters and red monsters and purple monsters. A lot of the games use this kind of stuff. You play any tabletop role-playing games, you don't get that as much. You kind of need to know what level Lich is if you're playing Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition versus Icewind Dale, right? But this is really important in Pathfinder. You really got to pay attention to this, because at low levels, one level is going to make a huge difference in how difficult the encounter is going to be, and the tactical situation that you put your players in. Let's say you have a party of 4 players, right? And they're all 4 level 5 iconics, right? And one guy in your party is up in the front, and your game master said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make them something that's maybe about party level -2. I want it to be moderate to low threat. That doesn't sound very dangerous. Surely they can handle moderate to low threat. And then suddenly they find themselves up against a series of creatures that are, 2 levels lower than him. So they have, 4 dire wolves. Oh my goodness. Is that going to be in D or is that going to be in W? What do you think? Let's just look in here. D, 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 D. No, it's not there. Don't you hate when that happens? Let's go see if it's in the wolf section. Wolf, 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 wolf. Here's wolf. There's a wolf. Here's regular wolf. Dire wolf. Okay, so there's a dire wolf. 50 hit points, right? Got a couple of reactions called buck. Melee jaws, biting you, +12 to hit. Okay. Well, Valeros is, what was he? +16 with his melee abilities, his +1 striking longsword. So he's rolling a d20, and he's going to try to hit this guy. This thing has an armor class of 18. So even if he didn't have any bonuses to hit at all, he would need an 18 or higher to hit the dire wolf. And he's not going to do a lot of damage, but he's got this +16, right? So do the math in your head. The +16, whoops, wrong page. The +16, you take it away from this guy's armor class, it's a 2. So you're going to hit these dire wolves pretty darn easily. Are you going to do a lot of damage, right? Are you going to do a lot of damage? 2d8 +4? I mean, that's kind of like advanced D&D damage, man. That's not a lot of damage, but there's a 3-action economy, right? You don't just go up once and go whack, and it's over. Like in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, that's all we ever got to do unless you house rule the hell out of it. So in this situation, you're going to, okay, my second attack is going to have a multiple attack penalty of -5 with a standard melee swing. That means it's a little harder on that second swing. So imagine like you swing an overhand right swing and they're trying to do a backhanded swing, which is kind of unnatural movement because you shifted your weight and taken a step and all this kind of stuff. Really imagine it like a film coming alive on screen. Just don't imagine Lord of the Rings, you'll be okay, right? So that second swing, it's going to be harder to hit the enemy. Now you can either add that number to the armor class. What you're supposed to do is subtract it from the roll, right? The target number stays the same. So let's say we rolled a natural 20 on our second attack of whacking this dire wolf guy. So you only needed this 2 to hit this guy. So I rolled a natural 20 and I subtract the multiple attack penalty of 5, which is what it is for all the strength-oriented swings, and I still hit, right? So now it's just a 15. That natural 20 turns into a 15, and then my third attack is -10, and I roll a 19, and I take away 10, and now it's a 9. Well, if I had rolled a 9, right, and I took away the 10, that third attack wouldn't hit this dire wolf at all. So it's an interesting balance. It gets very tense. The first attack is kind of like, yeah, nail this dude, man. There's 3 of them. I'm going to kill the first guy pretty quick and go to the second guy. And then you do their damage. You're like, wait a minute, 2d8, which is maybe a 4 plus a 4 plus a 4. Look at Valeris' damage. I'm going really fast here. You may want to have a copy of these on hand. I'll have the link in the description for you. So Valeris' damage output isn't all that awesome, right? It's 2d8 plus 4 slashing damage. So let's say he rolls an average of 2 4s, right? On each 8-sided dice. So 2d8 means you roll 2 8-sided dice. So a 4 and a 4 is an 8 plus 4. So he does 12 on the first hit. And like I said a moment ago, maybe he easily hits the dire wolf the second time. 12 damage on the second hit. And the third hit completely misses. Well, this guy is not out. Okay, this isn't a kobold. Okay, so he's got 50 hit points. You've only halved him. 2 really great rolls, and you've only halved him. And he's going to turn right back around and try to bite you. And you've got 2 other dudes next to him. So all 3 of those wolves are going to go bite, 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 bite. You know, all of them are going to, and the odds are between the time you have all, let's say there's 3 dire wolves. There's 9 rolls to hit they're going to do, right? They're going to try to bite you. The damage is 1d10 plus 5 piercing. So let's just take an average number between 1 and 10. Let's say it's 5 plus 5. That average number is going to be 10. Your average damage number for Valeros is going to be 12. And so you can see right away, 12 and 10, that's pretty tight, man. That's pretty tight. Now, his AC is a little lower than yours, but Valeros' AC, I mean, even with the shield up, you're only really AC 23. You're talking about 5 armor class difference. So it's pretty darn tight. And this is the thing that's really, really good. All the enemies and all the monsters in the bestiary have all been rebalanced around these ranges of levels, taking into consideration this creature XP and roll budget of building encounters from page 488. Very, very, very tight. Very, very well put together. So on mathematically, right, the odds are if you were just by yourself in the front and you got 3 enemies around you, they're probably going to kill you. You're going to die really quick. And if you're a level 1 dude up in the front row and there's just 2 skeletons and you think it's going to be no big deal, because let's just take a look here. Let's pull up something that's down to the level -1 range. Creatures by level, right? Let's say in the front row you're attacking and all there is 2 kobold warriors. Surely that's not intimidating, right? Let's take a look. Where's our kobold? Let's go to the K section. Oh, it just happens to be right here in the front. Kobold. Okay, what's this guy got? Okay, he moves the same movement rate as me. He can chase me forever. His perception number's kind of low. I'll probably win initiative. His hit points is only 8. Well, thank goodness, right? Because I do, on average, more damage to one-shot a kobold warrior. That sounds good. I'm level 5, one-shot the first kobold, turn to my left, and one-shot the second kobold. He's AC 16. What was my bonus to hit as Valeros? Well, I have a bonus of plus 16, so I'm always going to nail these guys, unless you have a house rule like I do. As you're a natural 1, you do a flub, but that's up to you. So you can see that's pretty well balanced. But when it gets to be their turn to attack, okay, what are they going to be able to hit you? Yeah, they just might, because these guys are using spears of plus 3 to hit, right? That means they need to roll a natural 20 to hit you. But if you were like an AC 19, they only need a 16 to hit you. And it's very capable, very possible that they're going to roll 16, natural 20, and you're going to find yourself, what the hell? And you'll be like, thank goodness I have 78 hit points, because 3 chumpy Cold War warriors just took 29 hit points away from me. And you're starting thinking like, okay, what can I do now? Gee whiz, should I pull back? Should I, what can I do with the cool shield? And then you're going to realize like, wow, having these feats comes in handy. Maybe next time I'll do something a little bit different. Maybe I'll try double slice, or I'll do my aggressive block. So this is how it all loops back. So trust me on this. I know I'm talking super fast here. The balance, trust in the balance in the bestiary. Don't go to yourself and say, yeah, we're going to play the Hall of, the Glacial Rift of the Frost Giant Jarl. We're going to recreate the Tomb of Horrors. We're going to put gargoyles in that one room. The gargoyle is very different in Pathfinder Second Edition than he was in Tomb of Horrors, especially the four-armed gargoyle that was in that. Or let's go take a look at a giant, right? Let's open this up. Giant. Where we got a giant? Here's a giant. Let's look at a frost giant. Frost giant, you're talking about 150 hit point frost giant, right? Creature 9. You shouldn't be having this as a boss. Go back to that. Go back to the core rulebook and say, listen, I got a party of level 5 characters. What is considered a standard creature, a low threat boss? The same level. So, okay, 4 levels higher is an extreme threat solo boss. 4 levels higher. So Valeris is level 5. Okay, 4 levels higher is level 9. So this guy here, Frost Giant, is considered what? Verbatim, an extreme threat solo boss. Meaning like this guy needs to be sleeping, passed out, and drunk, looking the wrong way, and maybe even handicapped, and jump him from behind and maybe do a ton of damage and get the devil out and use maybe a magic item and do everything you can to keep this guy from nailing you. His armor class is 29. You can still hit this guy. Here's the armor class right down here, right? But he's got a lot of immunities to cold. If you're using any cold stuff, you're going to be in trouble. Is he going to hit you? He probably is. Let's take a look at his melee attacks. With his great axe, it's plus 21 to hit. So he's going to nail you so easily. Your armor class is 23. He only needs a 2 to hit you, a natural 2 to hit you. His multiple attack penalty is going to come in there and destroy you. You're going to have serious trouble. That's scary, though. You're going to have to be tactical, right? That means all those choices you made in your Path Builder app. If you're an iOS user, I'm sorry, dude. I have nothing against Apples. I think they're fine. Especially if you like to have phones that look like something you should be chlorinating a pool with. But if you've built your character, you put all this time and energy, you pick these feats, you want to go back, you're going to have to kind of be a power gamer like we do in MMOs and PvP like I do, right? You're going to need to think about, this is a cool feat, but I probably would rather lift the adventure rather than haggle and get a better price on a dagger. I want to buy a horse and get some horse barding. You may want to find it like focus on feats and stuff that are going to make you a much better fighter. And you'll find these pre-built characters, the iconics that were built by the whatever whoop-de-doo community. I forgot their damn name. They're built pretty tight. They're built pretty strong. They have good feat choices. But that doesn't mean this is the only fighter build you can do. The strength of the game, as I said in the previous videos, there are so many interesting choices for these classes and the feats. Let's just go to the classes. Go to the left side. Let's go down here to fighter. Let's take a look at the fighter feats. And if you're doing a builder, you can start looking at these things and say, what specialization do I want? Is a fighter weapon mastery going to be good to me? There's a lot of ability boosts. Like the first 5 levels, they're kind of okay. Once you get to level 10, you have a lot of really, really interesting things you can do. But you're going to find someone like, let's look at this one here. Juggernaut, your body is accustomed. Let's just highlight this so you can follow along because I know the font's probably really small on a YouTube video. Your body is accustomed to physical hardship and resistant to ailments. Your proficiency rank for fortitude saves increases to mastery level, right? When you roll a successful fortitude save, you get a critical success instead. I don't think this guy gives a shit about that. Pardon my language. I don't think this guy really cares too much about that. I don't think you're going to have a lot of problems with picking that feat to help you defeat a good old-fashioned heavy-duty frost giant melee swinging you, right? You're going to need, and if there's 2, what are you going to do then? So going back to your core rule book, let's go back to this chapter here on game mastering the game, right? Let's just close the class section. You can close and open these just like you would in your Windows. Let's go to game mastering, and it's only a couple pages in. We highlighted it previously. So be very careful with what you try to take on, and be very careful as a game master what you try to throw against your party. You're gonna find that like this party level -3, that's a pretty good group fight. A party level -4, hey, it's a swarm of dudes like in Diablo you can just blow up. Party level -1 and -2, someone's gonna get killed. If someone gets something in their face and they don't move away and they don't use their good speed movement rate and don't CC the thing, you might find a situation with 2 archers across the bar and 1 guy in the doorway, and you're so hell bent to bringing this one enemy down that you don't move, right? You stay there being hit by 3 targets. You think the healing's going to save your life. You're going to drop. Okay, you're going to get killed. And it's not a lot of fun to get killed. You want to explore the whole dungeon, do the whole adventure, have the whole exciting play session be fun. The combat, because it's so scary and so tactical, people start slowing down. They start thinking about their moves like chess moves. And as you get used to playing a class better and better and better, you'll start creating little combinations you can do. Like I was saying in my last video, where I have this crazy sorcerer who uses intimidation, uses a spear, trips her targets, and does lots of nasty vampiric crap to them and kills them. So, there's a lot of cool one-trick pony builds. Ask people in your Facebook group about a build, put together a build, and share it with them. But I see so many of these people talking about how, hey, we finally played, we got together our first session, we had our level 1 characters, and we all died. Because, it's not the same. It's not 5th edition. It's not 4th edition. It's not 3.5. It's not AD&D. It's not Traveler. It's Pathfinder Second Edition. It is much, much more lethal, but it's very, very finely tuned. So try this technique. Build a couple characters. Download the free community use character so you don't have to waste a bunch of time. It has one for every class of the iconic in the game. Go and set up your battle board. Set up your battle board like this and say, okay, here's what we're going to do, man. Where's my giants? They're way across the room here. Go ahead and create yourself. Sorry, I'm using a headset, so it sounds terrible. Get yourself a giant, right? Put that giant out there and say, okay, I've made this Valeros, I've made this cleric, this battle cleric, and I'm actually just going to stand toe-to-toe, get the dice bag out, roll out the dice. I'm going to get some Post-it notes, and I'm going to figure out what it's going to take to hit you and what's it going to take to hit me. And I'm actually going to roll the damage honestly, agnostically, and see what happens with this encounter between these two enemies. How many hits can I take? Do I survive? And then maybe go and switch that character out with something else, like some kind of a bandit or whatever, some kind of NPC caster. Or you try something that's in the several different level range. You try a 2-on-1 situation or a 3-on-1 scenario. So that's what you're going to want to do. And I think the thing about doing it that way that's really, really important is you're going to want to go into the bestiary and experiment with the different level ranges, creatures by level appendix that's in the back, basis on this level 5 character, and say, what's it like to fight a basilisk versus to fighting a cloaker versus fighting a cyclops, because their themes are very, very different as well. And by doing those kind of situations with the different types of enemies, you're going to start to get a sense of fighting a genie is very, very different than fighting a cyclops, right? And you're going to need to come up with new strategies on how to play your class to deal with the new Pathfinder Second Edition version of a tiger, okay, versus dealing with the old version of the tiger. Let's go take a look at a genie here real quick, just for fun, right? That's a D, I believe, isn't it? No, genie is a G. You never know what the spelling is going to be. So, that's the Johnny. Here's the, I don't know how to pronounce that. Here it is, a genie. Level 5, perception's 13. That's pretty good. Movement's 25, just like people. And where's his AC? 22, not too bad. Our Valeros guy is the same AC pretty much at 23. But this guy's got all kinds of nasty things like Hurricane Blast, which is really crazy, and lots of elemental spells. He's got a really nasty range. Some of these things are pretty crappy. Some of them are pretty damaging. His melee scimitar damage is 1d6 plus 10. That's pretty heavy duty. I mean, Valeros, he's only got 2d8 plus 4. I mean, that's pretty heavy damage. So that's someone that's considered to be the same level as you. Any standard creature or low threat boss. He would be a boss. If you say you did this entire floating city, desert adventure, and follow these zombies and skeletons and all these other kind of things, and the genie is the one that's running the whole show, and he's enslaved everyone, and you got to rescue your friends, and before, that's how the story goes, right? So be careful with the same level, one level over range, one level under range. Be very, 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 whoa, sorry about that. Out of memory. Don't you love that? That's one thing I hate about using PDF sometimes when you have a lot of highlights on this. This gaming rig laptop has 64 gigs of RAM on it. So, let's just close that and get that out of range. Let's get this out of here. Let's go back to our webcam. No, I don't want to save my stupid changes. All right, let's go back. That's not crashed on us. Let's just leave that up. So you're going to want to do these type of experiments, balancing the armor class number versus your possible melee attack strike. And you can also do the same thing for spellcasters because they're attacking against AC as well. And look at the different look at the appendix, like I mentioned earlier, for creatures by level. Set up some situations where you can try out a combat scenario like this on your little battle board and see what kind of tactics and ideas you can come up with. And I think you'll find very, very, very quickly that it's a lot of fun to relearn the game, because all these old classic enemies that you've known from years and years and years ago. Okay, let's get a drow out. Where's a drow? Okay, Let's just go to the 2-page view. They're just not the same. This is not Vault of the Drow. A Drow fighter is like level 1. If you remember the original Vault of the Drow, they're all wearing this adamantite chainmail, and they've got all these innate abilities they can cast every day. And the Drow Priestess is a walking wave of destruction named Calavdra, who's going to kill you in the bottom of the Hall of Fire Giant King, and she's going to whip you with this tentacle whip, and you're going to die. And she's going to cast harm on you, and you're going to have all your hit points taken away but 1 to 4. But a Drow Priestess in Pathfinder Second Edition is AC 20 and pretty much a chump with 39 hit points. It's just a showboat. Now, she's obviously NPC-ish. You could ramp up her stats, but if you play her by the book, just like she is, she's no powerful than a deep gnome. Now, in the old days, that was completely different. Something like a dog, it's a -1 creature. But a doppelganger, you may find that some of these creatures are a lot more nastier than they used to be. Okay, a succubus is level 7. You're going to have to be careful here. But the numbers are really tight. So don't assume the balance you used to know from 5th edition, the balance you used to know from AD&D or any of the other versions of the game is going to just cross right over. Some of the things in the old days that you used to do that you thought were fantastic aren't going to work the same way. Man, what is up with this memory crap? You know what? I must be churning a lot of memory here. So that's basically the video anyway. It's telling me to stop doing this. So take a look at those systems. Play around with the PDF versions of the game. If you don't have the PDF, stick some post-it notes in your actual physical book. Mark it. Now mark the appendix in the back. Download a pre-generated character, set them on the table, and just have some one-on-one fights for a melee character. Do the same thing with range. So you can get used to those range to hits. Do the same thing with spellcaster and see what it's like when you run out of spells. See what it's like to wipe out 5 kobolds versus 4 with a level 1 character, etc., etc. So this is a really fun way for you to get a handle on this because you need to relearn the balance. Everything else feels familiar. Some of the rules are completely complex, but if you can't figure out how to actually fight, you're in deep shit. So have a lot of fun with it. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's about 25 minutes, not that long. And yeah, what's up with the memory thing on the PDFs, dude? That's terrible. All right, cool. We'll see if we can fix that. We'll talk to you later. Have fun. Have a cool weekend. Later, dude.